Well, good afternoon and welcome to the podcast. We're here with Barry at Champion Pre-Owned Classics down in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Barry, how you doing today?
Very good. Beautiful day.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to put you full screen, Barry, and we'll give you a chance to tell us a little bit about your business, how long you've been doing it, and then you're going to give us a tour of these muscle cars you have behind you.
Okay. My name is Barry Waddell, and I'm the owner of Champion Pre-Owned Classics here in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. I've been in business since 1994, previously in Purcellville, Virginia, and in 2016 we moved over here where we could get into an area where we could have all of our inventory in an enclosed facility or two enclosed facilities, and everything is inside and out of the weather. I've been in the automobile business since 1967 in one way or another, starting in 1967 selling new Pontiacs in Alexandria, Virginia. And then after several years moved to Oldsmobile and sold Oldsmobiles for many years. And then went into business for myself in 1994 and selling what I call everyday cars. And then after 9/11, I decided I was going to go all the full time into classics, cars and trucks. And I've been doing that ever since 01. I'll go ahead and start with this car right here to show you just what a little sampling of what we have. This is a 1965 Pontiac GTO with the original 389 engine with 4-barrel. It's original red car with the white parchment interior, automatic transmission, power steering, power brakes, and factory air conditioning, which of course is a little unusual for a 1965 car. It's got the optional Valley One wheels with the red line tires, and interior has been replaced back to factory original. Tinted glass, all the goodies for a second year GTO. Looks like the birds have already put a deposit on it since we put it out here today. I can start this one up for you just to give you some sort of an idea on it. Kind of unusual to have the parchment interior in these cars. Of course, it has the bucket seats and the console between the seats. These cars have really gained in popularity in the last 2 or 3 years. The real GTOs have really come on strong, almost comparable with the SS Chevelles. Chrome is good. Good solid car, originally from Texas. Okay, we'll move to this one here. This is a 1969 Camaro Z28. This is an original real Z28 with the matching number original drivetrain, the 302 engine, 4-speed transmission, 12-bolt rear end with posit traction, and it has the optional console with the gauges, the factory tachometer, front and rear spoilers. The front spoiler's not on it now, but it comes with a front spoiler and the Cal induction hood. It's got the white interior in it. One thing that's pretty unusual about this car, people don't see very often, when this car was ordered from the factory with an 8-track tape player, and there wasn't any real good place to mount it, so it is factory mounted on the top of the console lid. And it looks rather bizarre that way, but that is the way they came from the factory, with the tape player setting up there, and then you reach your hand back like that to get the tape, to put the tape in the car. These cars are obviously very, very collectible, and it's very, very important on these cars to have the matching number drivetrain, because so many of these cars were made into race cars and abused and so forth. So to find one that's that original is a little bit hard to come up with. This car was an original car sold new in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it still has the sticker on the back from the dealership in Charlotte, North Carolina. And you just don't see that very often like that, with the options of that on it. And it is an original Hugger orange car, which became one of the most very, very popular colors on these cars. In fact, you see lots of Hugger orange ones now, but they weren't born Hugger orange. But this car was. It was born just this way, with the white stripes and the white interior. And this has the optional, what they call the X33 package, which gave you the trim around the wheels, the little 3 vents on the rear quarter panel, the chrome trim called the roof drip molding. All of that was part of the X33 package on these cars. It just dressed it up a little bit. If you got it without that, it did look a little bit plain compared to when it had the little dress up. And then also the X33 package would have been the same way on a rally sport car, which would have that extra trim and more things. The rally sport would of course have the hideaway headlights and the backup lights below the rear bumper. Power disc brakes were also standard on the Z28 in 69. That was part of the Z28 package. And the Cal induction with the Cal induction air cleaner, that's the way they came, if it had the Cal induction hood. Many of these cars did not come with a Cal induction hood, because the Cal induction hood did not come out until about 3.5 months after the cars came out. So a lot of cars came without the Cal induction hood, and then many people added it later because it would have just had a regular flat hood on it. Okay, we'll move along here. This is just a 71 Chevelle. It's an original Malibu that's had some upgrades to it. It's a lot of metal panels have been replaced. The quarters have been replaced, and some of the other panels. And it's got a basic 350 engine, but it's been warmed up a little bit with automatic transmission, power steering, complete new interior in it. Surprisingly, most of these Malibus came with a bench seat. The bucket seats were an option, but most of the ones you see that were just a plain bench seat in them, because this was the car that it's the same car as the SS without the bigger motor. This car's had been freshened up just to make a real nice Sunday cruiser type car with a good solid body. The torque thrust wheels just makes for a nice cruiser. Chevelles are kind of the king of the hill on many of these things, because so many people like them, and so many of them were made into race cars. Next here is kind of an unusual car, but they really gained in popularity lately because they were good little cars. If you can find them with with good solid floors in them, because of course being a convertible and the unibody on these cars, if they leaked water, then the floors got rusty, and then when that happened, then the car tends to want to bend in half, so to speak. This car came out of the deep south. Floors are very solid, and it's got the optional V8 engine in it, the 260 V8. This is a 1964 Falcon Futura, and this car also has the optional 4-speed transmission, which is a little unusual for these cars, especially in a convertible. But they just make a great little driver. They're fun to drive. They're quite peppy, even with the 260 V8. They're quite peppy, and just gaining in popularity all the time, just because they're just such a cute little car, and actually pretty spunky. And of course, so many of these cars were modified with a 289 or bigger 302s and so forth in them. But this car is just a very original, good, solid driver type car. It's got the power convertible top, and then you can drop it down and do your Sunday afternoon cruise anywhere you want to go with it. They're reliable. They won't cost you a lot of money for gas, and just a fun car to drive. This one is when Ford did these cars, when they had a V8 engine, they did some other things to stiffen things up, and 5 lug wheels rather than 4 lug wheels and stuff like that. So the V8 cars are there's more than just the engine that changes it when it has the original V8 car. Same way with the platform on this car, with the same platform on the first edition Mustang. Okay, moving along here. This is another 69 Camaro. This is an original Rally Sport Camaro. And I had this car painted, and so many people like the stripes like on the orange car, but really, if you're a purist, and I'm somewhat of one, those stripes on the Z20 were only available on the Z28. If you didn't get a Z28 and you wanted a stripe, this was the stripe you got. There was a different stripe for the hood, but you didn't get this parallel stripes like on the Z on any of the other models. This is a Rally Sport, which of course that means it's got the hideaway headlights. It's got all the exterior car has factory air conditioning, automatic transmission, power steering, power disc brakes, 12-bolt rear, positive traction, a console with the gauge package, the tachometer, the spoilers, the Cal induction hood. It's a pretty well loaded up car. This car, however, does not have the original engine. It's got a later model LT1 engine, aluminum head LT1 engine in it. So it runs out extremely well. But it's a nice loaded up car. It's a great cruiser, and it's nice on one of these cars with air conditioning. But it's got all the extras to make it like that. This car is I've just put these wheels on it. I have the Rally wheels in raised white letters that were on it, so it could go either way with either this or the other. or the rally wheels. Some people might like those better, but I kind of like the hockey stick stripes on them. And you don't see that many because so many people now think that they like the Z28 stripes so much better. But it just matter what turns you on, so to speak. But it's an unusual car with the options it's got, and a good solid car. This car is painted in the factory color of dusk blue. In '69, the Camaro offered 3 different blues. This is the darker of the 3. There was a lighter blue, and then the most popular was Le Mans blue, which is similar to many people know of. They called it Marina blue in '67, and in '69 it was Le Mans blue, which was very, very popular on these cars too. But this is the dusk blue, which was one of the 3 blues that they offered in '69. Over here now we have the standby. It's the traditional '57 Chevy Bel Air 2-door hardtop. These are about the car of the 1950s. Most anybody that you can talk to that doesn't even know anything about cars will look at one of those and say that's a '57 Chevy. It's kind of the standard of the '50s cars. It seems like you go to a show, there seems like there's more of them now than there was 20 years ago, but they're a timeless piece. This one is in the tropical turquoise. It's got the optional fender skirts, and it's got the matching interior with the turquoise and with the black inserts. This is all the way they came, the factory that they came that way. Of course, it's got the skirts, and this one has the optional Continental kit on the back, which was, of course, very, very popular in the '50s. This particular car is a standard transmission, 3-speed on the column, or as many people say, the 3 on the tree. And this one has the optional overdrive in it also, which is, if you're going to do a little bit of nice cruising, it's kind of nice. You go down the road in 60 miles an hour, you're at 3,000, and you engage the overdrive, and the tachometer drops down from 3,000 to about 2,300, so it makes a big difference. But it was a popular option back then, the overdrive trans. This has the 265 in it. Some 57s had the 265, the early ones. Then they had the 283, and then they had what they called the 283 Power Pack, which had the 4-barrel carburetor and the dual exhaust. So there's a wide range. And then many of these cars also were 6-cylinders. There was a tremendous amount of these cars that were made with the 6-cylinder. One big thing that people learn, if it has the gold V on the hood and on the trunk, that meant it had a V8 in it. If it just has the Chevrolet on there without a V, then that meant it was a 6-cylinder. They let you know it before. You didn't have to open the hood or anything back then, just to let you know whether you had a V8 in it or not. Of course, so many of them today that may have not had a V8 when they were born have got a V8 in them now, and of course any number of different engines, 327s or 454s or whatever. But they're a unique car. They've got a good solid frame, and many of these cars now are getting updated with modern suspension, modern drivetrains, and of course a lot of them want, if you have an unlimited budget, A lot of people want this car looking that way, but with a ultra modern drivetrain in it, 4-wheel disc brakes, air conditioning, power windows, and all sorts of things that they're adding to the cars, and to make a wonderful driver. But it's still, your first impression, you know, it's still a 57 Chevy. And you're seeing, I think they're called resto mods. And there's a tremendous interest in these cars and the people that are doing that to them. But they are a timeless car. They're very, very unique in every way. Last car we have is a 1969 Mustang Shelby GT350. This is a car that just recently came in trade out of a collection. The car, I think, spent many years in Florida. It's had one repaint, but other than that, it's an original car. And I'm the first to say I'm not very knowledgeable about Shelby's. This is only the second one I've ever had, but most people will know that when they first came out with the Shelby's in 65 and 66, there was a lot of them sold to Hertz Rent-A-Car, and you could actually go in and rent one and for a drive, a real Shelby, and you could rent it and go for a drive. And a lot of guys would rent it and then go to their drag strip with it and then bring it back on Monday morning. But that was when they first got it started. But I did not know until I got this car that for some strange reason they only did they did that, I think, in 65 and 66. But then for some strange reason in 1969 they built somewhere between 150 and 152 of these cars that were also sold to Hertz and were you could go in and rent them. And this is one of the original Hertz Rent-A-Cars from 1969. And it still has the Hertz emblem in the back on the back window. And of course, being a rental car in 69, this car is equipped with power steering, power brakes, and factory air conditioning, and swing away steering wheel. So it's a pretty unusual car, to say the least. And it was an education for me, because I certainly didn't know that in 1969 that they made any cars for Shelby that were sold to Hertz for rental cars. But they're unique cars in every way. Let me start this one up. There's one of the specialties on these Shelby cars was the exhaust system, and I think it's probably as unique as any exhaust system, and the sound is unique as any car you'll ever find. But that was one of the things that Shelby did on these cars, and as you can tell, you know right away what it is, and it's unmistakable, to say the least. These cars came with a special wheel that was also part of the Shelby package, and the standard tire on these cars was an F60 15 with the wheel. Of course, none of the other Mustangs came with 15s in 69. They came with 14 inches. But these are the F, and with a pretty large tire for these cars. This car's got the set of tires on it is original, And I think that's one of the few tires that I know of, is, to my knowledge, no one has reproduced it, because it doesn't have the size of the tire in the white letter, which is pretty much the way most everything else in those reproduction tires has got the size also in the white letter, but this one doesn't. So this may have an original set of tires on it. I can't verify that, but that's just what I'm thinking about it. But that gives you an idea. This is just an example of what we have. This is just a small amount. Normally we will have 40 to 50 vehicles, and recently within the last 3 or 4 years, as most anyone knows, that classic trucks have gained in popularity tremendously, especially the trucks of the late 40s and 50s and 60s and early 70s. And so a large part of our inventory is also in these earlier trucks that have picked up in popularity tremendously. Click the link in the description. If you have any questions or anything you would like to check on, any problems or anything that you need to know, if you click on the link in the description, we'll be glad to take care of it and answer your questions, or whatever you might need. I do arrange a lot of shipping for people. I do a lot of shipping, both cars that come in that I may have bought or cars that are going out. So I can arrange the shipping for you and make that as simple and painless as possible to get it shipped. I have shipped to most of the countries in Europe, to Australia, to New Zealand, and of course Canada, one to Brazil even. So if we can arrange shipping for you, if you have any questions on anything, just click on the link and I'll be glad to answer anything you might have, any questions you might have. The inventory is ever changing. My inventory is usually going to be mostly pretty close to original cars and trucks. I don't really get into anything that's really heavily modified, unless it's something like an early street rod that's been redone or something like that. But mostly it's going to be pretty much what you see here, pretty much original, unmodified, nice cars. Maybe not the nicest one on the planet that you're going to be afraid to drive, but one that looks really good and that you can get in on a Sunday afternoon and go to a show, or get in there and just go for a great ride in a classic car. And that's what I look for. I'm not really into trying to find the newest one or the nicest one on the planet, because those are the ones that you're scared to do anything with. You're scared to leave it in the parking lot. You got to trailer it everywhere, and that to me takes away some of the fun of it. But if you've got something that looks good, you can get in it and drive it and enjoy it, and not have to worry that it'd be the end of the world if somebody opens a door on it. I mean, we don't want that to happen, but we all know that that can happen. So then that's what I look for, is the good drivers that you can get in and enjoy.
Yeah, I really like your philosophy on that, Barry, as far as, something that people can enjoy and take to cruise nights and car shows. And there's something to be said for that. That's a big part of the investment. It's great when they can appreciate and they're too nice to drive, but something to be said for enjoying that. That's a big part of the experience.
I think it's you seeing more and more of that, where people that have had just fantastic, beautiful cars, but they were afraid to enjoy them. They were afraid to drive them. And they said, well, what? It's not doing me any good like that. It's just sitting in my garage, or I haul it to a show and haul it home. but people want to be able to get in the car and then go for a ride and enjoy it. And that's kind of what I look for, is something like that, that's just not the greatest one on the planet, but a really nice car that you can have fun with.
Yeah, nice solid examples. And from what I can tell, each of the ones we looked at today are exactly that. Really nice examples that you can enjoy. And I also like the stories that you had behind some of the cars, like that Hertz story on that Mustang, and the story about the difference between the V6 and the V8 on that 57 Chevy. Really cool to hear those stories. It's very informative.
Yeah, they had a lot of different ways back then to let you know if you had a V8 car, because there were so many of those cars. Of course, when you go beyond 1955, there was almost all were 6-cylinder cars or straight eights or something like that. But when they came out with the V8s, and especially in General Motors and in Chrysler also, they wanted to let you know it, and the people wanted to be able to let you know it too.
Yes.
And they had the unique little way of this small little things like that really made a difference.
And it's a great way for the car guys at the time to show off their knowledge and their expertise. You know, that
Yeah.
they know it's a V6 and someone else doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Now, Barry, if someone is looking for a specific car, they're trying to locate a certain car, do you work for them? Do you work with someone like that to try to help them locate a car that they're looking for?
I do, if it's, you never know what's going to turn up. I mean, it's just all almost a roll of the dice. But if someone calls that wants something and they're pretty specific, and I might know it, or I have people. I've done this for a very, very long time, so I talk to people every day and that are in the business. And so, if there's any way I can help them find something that they're looking for, I'd be glad to do it.
Great to know. Yeah, so you have the ability to network and find things like that. But go ahead, continue your thought, Barry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's I'm sorry, but another thing, I don't know how many of the other dealers do it or what they do or don't, but I do take trade-ins of other classic cars. And I've got several customers. I've got one customer that every 2 years he trades whatever he bought 2 years ago in on something new. He just and every time he brings me back the one that he bought, he makes it nicer, and that's how he enjoys it. He enjoys doing the little things and improving on it. And then he'll call and say, well, I'm ready for something else. I need a little more of a project. And there's a lot of guys out there like that that's how they enjoy it, is by taking something nice and making it nicer, and enjoy a little bit, drive it for a year or two, and then say, well, I'm ready for something else. And it works out well for me and them, because they trade whatever they've got back in and get something else. And that's I like to take trade-ins. Sometimes it might be an even trade. Sometimes I might have to give them some money, and sometimes they might have to give me some money. But it all works out, whatever makes it happy, makes it work.
That's cool. Very cool. And as we were saying earlier too, there is a link in the description. So if you have questions for Barry, either about the cars we're looking at or about a car you're trying to locate, or let's say months have gone by since this video has come out and you just want to find out what Barry has in his inventory, click that link. It opens up a little form. You can enter your information, ask him whatever questions you have, and he'll get right back to you with answers. There's a link in the description for it. There's also a link to his website. And if you see the rotating banner at the top of the screen, his phone number is up there. His web address is there. Please reach out to Barry and tell him that you heard about it on the podcast. Well, great. Any closing thoughts, Barry, before we wrap it up?
Well, that's probably it. I as I said before, the inventory is ever changing, so I never know what may be coming in. I sent one out this morning to Florida, and so I'm sure we'll have more coming in, but I never really know until that day what it may be. But I'm constantly on the lookout for nice cars and trucks that I can add into the inventory.
Nice. So let's say someone has a collector car they're thinking about selling. Is it worth having them contact you to see if it's something you might entertain?
Absolutely.
Good, good.
Yeah. I get a tremendous amount of the inventory just by word of mouth from people that say, well, I want to sell this, and they call me. I mean, I don't really get into the super big project type cars because I don't have anyone to do that. I have one man that does a lot of body and paint work for me, but um, he's kind of a 2-person operation, so he doesn't want too big a job. Excuse me.
Sure.
But and then I have one man that's doing mechanical work, and I have another man that's doing interior work for me. So I've got a little bit of everything, and so I'd love to have anyone that has something that they want to sell, give me a call, and if I can't do anything with it, I'll be able, maybe I can tell them where they can go to get it sold.
Sure. So you have a good network of people you can reach out to if it's not something you can work with.
Yeah, you get, when you've been doing it as long as I have, you learn where to go and where not to go.
Sure. Well, good. It's good that you can put that expertise to work for someone.
Yes, that's true.
Well, great, great. Well, yeah, I'd like to thank you for doing this with us today. I thank us all. Thank you also to the viewers. We had some people viewing today and making comments, and we really appreciate that. And yeah, any questions at all, just reach out to Barry. There's a link in the description. You can fill out a form with some questions, or there's the website and phone number across the top of the screen and in the description as well. Please do not be shy about reaching out to Barry about anything you've seen here today or anything you'd like to try to have him locate for you. All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you tonight on the podcast.